Well, hey, everybody, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger, and we are here at the Ultimate Sports Show in Grand Rapids for Big Buck Night. Jenny, they seem to get bigger every year.
They do, Jimmy. It's so much fun, even talking before we get the show started, just to get your hands on some of these big buck racks and to hear the stories. We've got some kids, some ladies here. Lots of fun stuff going to be happening tonight on the stage.
That's right, and I think we have a deer from the far north part of the Upper Peninsula in the Keweenaw, and we've got the biggest spike I've ever seen, so lots of good deer on this week's show. Make sure you stay tuned. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan out of doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream. It's the love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. By Vanguard, a global manufacturer based in Michigan featuring rifle scopes, binoculars, and spotting scopes with lifetime warranties. Vanguard supplies sporting optics and accessories for the outdoor enthusiast, online at vanguardworld.com. By Country Smokehouse, offering a variety of meat products. Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 on M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen.
We all have one, that perfect spot, a special place we go to smooth out the ripples of the day. Our perfect spot is calling. Our perfect spot is Pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Okay, our first monster deer for tonight was shot by Tom Shepard. This was shot in Ogemaw County with a rifle. It scores a whopping 58 inches and 4/8. And Tom, first of all, I've never seen a spike like this. Did you kind of know this buck was in the area?
Never seen it before.
Okay, and so tell me about the fateful day. What happened?
There was a doe, fawn, and another small buck standing in my shooting lane. And the doe looked up to the west, nuzzled the fawn backed into the balsam, the doe backed into the balsam, the buck looked to the west, it backed into the balsam, and he walked out.
So did you get a really good look at him? How far was he away?
80 yards.
Okay, could you see that it was a spike, or did you just not really look?
When he walked out facing south, and I had a broadside shot, and I shot him in the neck. When I went up there, I saw he had no points.
And so what went through your mind when you walked up there?
What happened to him?
Wow. And you said it's a 19-inch inside spread?
19 and a half.
19 and a half. And how long are the beams?
Over 18 and a half.
Wow. Well, that is a buck of a lifetime. Let's give Tom a big round of applause for a very unique Michigan buck. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we've got our first lady hunter of the night up here. This is 17-year-old Shawnee Selden. She's got this gorgeous 9-point, 121 inches with your crossbow, Clinton County. And this was the late December hunt, right?
Yeah, it was December 28th.
All right. Well, that was probably cold out there, if I remember correctly. Tell me what happened out there that day.
I heard deer coming through our woods, so I got my bow ready. I got the lights dimmed down, so I put my bow up, and I'm ready. And I see 2 does coming up, and then I see him come up. And he got about 30 yards away, so I put my bow scope on him, got it right behind his shoulders, and fired right away because I didn't want him to run or anything, get spooked. So.
And what happened? Did he go very far?
He went about 60 yards.
So were you able to watch him drop and everything?
No, he went in a strip of our woods that was too thick. So.
Well, that is awesome. Very good job. Congratulations, Shawnee. And she brought her picture in, too, of her and the buck. This is kind of fun to see, too. Great job. Successful young hunter here, representing the ladies. Let's give her a round of applause.
This buck we just actually saw tonight. Paul showed up tonight, and we kind of rough scored it at right about 155 or so gross. Shot with a shotgun in Montcalm County, and this was shot on state land. Scott, tell us the story.
Well, the opening day, that morning, we pulled in and hunting on state land. We have to get there a little early because there's a lot of pressure. So it's 5:30, and a truck pulled in behind us. And so I went back and talked to the guy and said, well, where are you going to be hunting? He says, over there. He says, well, where are you going to be? I said, well, down here by the swamp. He shook his head. He says, I don't know if you should hunt down there. He says, there's a doctor who's got a blind down there. And I looked at it. I said, well, that would be me. And well, all my buddies got a big chuckle out of that because they thought, geez, he's world renowned. Even the people in the woods are keeping their distance. So I thought that was a good thing.
And you're not a doctor, are you?
I am.
You are?
Actually, I was a former superintendent, and so my reputation preceded me into the woods. But the other good thing about that day is that my niece Megan hunted with us, and it was her first gun hunt. She's only 22. So Megan hunted in my blind, and I just went down the hill about 80 yards. So about 10:30 that morning, here comes a buck. I thought, gosh, it must have run right by Megan. So it goes, and I'd had some problems with my gun, and I could only get one shell into the chamber. So I thought, okay, this is it now or never.
And it was not a single shotgun?
No, it was no, it's not a single shot, and I wanted a lot more. So I shot, and I could see the deer, and it goes back towards Megan. Well, I'm waiting for her to pull the trigger, and she never did. I see the deer go down. I go down the hill after a couple minutes to make sure that it's dead, and I'm like 20 yards away from Megan, where the deer goes down. I said, well, honey, did you see that deer? She said, Uncle Scott, I saw it and about wet my pants, and I couldn't get my gun up, and I couldn't get it in the scope, and I was so hoping that you would shoot. Well, I did, and so it's the biggest buck of my life.
Wow.
Tell us what happened out there. Is this your first buck?
No.
No.
I shot about 5 other bucks, I think.
Wow. Did you shoot one before this one this year?
Yeah. Tell me about that. Well, right. I shot a splay corn, but then I went out the next day and shot this massive deer. My dad was with me. He marked it down at 70 with a rangefinder down on the backside of our food plot. Then he came down all the way down to 42. Then Trey, when he said 42, I'll pull the trigger.
Okay, so what happens? You pull off the shot, and then what happens?
He went about 15 yards and spun around and dropped.
That is so cool. A little bit of high-fiving going on, I'm sure, out there.
Yep.
So did you take that thing around town and parade it around? Did you go to the feed store with it?
I went to Brown's.
All right. Brown's is just up the road in Goodrich, Michigan. That's where I live now. It's also another fine town. Well, Charlie, congratulations. That's a buck of a lifetime right there, right from Ortonville, Michigan. Let's give him a round of applause.
November the 5th, he finally came out. 7:20 in the morning, he walked across an opening to the east of me. I got a glimpse at him. I didn't know what buck he was because I did have a few shooters running around. So
That's a pretty good-looking piece of 3 acres, I guess.
yeah, I am fortunate with that. And basically, he came to check a scrape that I hadn't seen before. It was fresh. I seen it as soon as the sunlight came up, so that kind of excited me. And he turned after he had taken a couple swipes at it, and I whacked him at about 17 yards.
Now, did you have time to get nervous, or?
Yes, I did. But I shot a 130-inch 10-point in 2012, and I kind of got the buck fever down. I think I got it figured out. Just don't look at the antlers. Yeah. And then I didn't see him drop or anything, so it made me kind of nervous. I saw my arrow hanging out of him when he was running, so I didn't really get a whole lot of penetration on my thought. And so I waited it out about an hour and then went looking for him, and like I said, no penetration, so no blood. So I just kind of went belly searching and didn't see him, and then I literally turned around and he was 10 yards from me, so like my heart sank, and then all the emotions kicked in, and felt my dad looking upon me.
Well, I'm sure he did help you out with that hunt. That's a heck of a story, and I'm glad to see him smiling down on from above. So, Tim, let's give him a round of applause for a great buck. Nice job.
The day I went out hunting, I wasn't going to go out, and then the missus, she's like, I want to watch my shows. And so I'm like, okay, and I kind of dragged my feet. I wasn't going to go out, and I think about 3:30 I decided I was going to leave Jackson and head to Okemos to go hunting, so I was way behind.
And so once I got in there, I had to make a change of how I was going to come in. I didn't want to scare the deer out. And so I went across the field and kind of did something a little different. But I had to take a pause at, they had like an island of trees. And I stopped there and I put my bucket down. As soon as that bucket hit the ground, a doe shot off to the left, the buck shot off to the right, and it was a race. And I tried to get my primer out of my pocket to get my gun up, and then finally, about after a couple seconds of him running, he decided he wanted to slow up to see where his girlfriend was. And when he did that, I jumped on the ground, got Brown in the scope, and shot. And at first, I thought I missed him. The smoke cleared, and there was nothing there. I thought he had made the edge of the field, so I just put my head in the dirt. And then about a couple seconds later, I could hear something. I went and looked up, and there he is. He was just kind of flaring around a little bit, and that was it.
Well, congratulations. Gorgeous buck there. Steed Scott, everybody.
Well, let's hear the story. What happened with this on this fateful day? You said it was Thanksgiving.
Yes, it was. Well, the night before, I went way up in the woods. I got some blinds up in there, and it was so heavy snow, and the trees were so laden, I couldn't see. So I thought, well, nuts. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to go down and shoot. I'm going to sit in that coyote blind. I built a big new blind, and I said, I'm going to sit in the coyote blind. Whether I see something or not, at least I'll be able to see past the snow. So it was early in the morning. I saw a couple of does, and I looked at them with the binoculars, and they kept going up and up toward the ridge, and they kept feeding on autumn olive, and there's some acorns up in there. So they were eating away, and I kept looking, and a couple more does joined them, a couple more does, and after a while, there was 7 or 8 does up in there. And I see some a little higher up, and I thought, doggone. And then I just put my glasses down, and all of a sudden, there was one little opening, it probably 10 foot wide, that was clear. The rest of it was snarly brush. And here come this buck with his head down, just coming right toward me. Man, I zipped the window open, and I stuck my rifle out the window, and it was about 175 yards. And I said, turn, because he was coming just down like this. And as soon as he turned, I drilled him right there. Wow. And I saw I could hit him because he humped, and he fell down. It was an old gravel pit, so there's all deep holes in there. And he fell down in one of them holes. A longhorned hawk came, a great big beautiful bird, got in the tree right above him. And just about the time I kept watching that hawk thinking he's going to fly down. And he didn't, and a golden eagle flew in a great big tree up there and sat there the whole time and just watched, just looking down.
Was there like a rainbow and music playing and everything?
Oh, but it was pretty awesome. So anyway, here comes Rusty and Cody in the truck, and they come up, and he said, where is he? I said, well, they're up in that hill there. So I said, I'll drive up there, and then you come up with me. So they come up, and I backed up my truck up there, and he started looking and looking. As soon as he saw the horns, he started hitting on me. He said, Dad, I can't believe it. He said, you wouldn't tell me that. So anyway, we had a heck of a good time.
Coolest thing about this buck right here is that he shot it in Keweenaw County in the UP. This is a UP buck, and you're a Youper. That's awesome. Thanks for coming all the way down here for this. Tell us what happened out there. Did you know you had bucks this big where you were hunting?
No, actually, we got a lot of snow this year right before deer season, and it was real rough getting out to the blind. I actually had to use my snowmobile, and it was the 5th day, and I was sitting out there, and I wasn't seeing anything. And it was about noon, and my propane tank ran out, so I had no heat, and it was cold. So I was like, well, I'm not going to sit here. So I left with my propane tank, and I got a new one. I'm thinking the whole time, I could just sit home and watch some TV and be warm this afternoon. And I thought, no, I got to go back out. So I went back out, and I sat there, and still nothing. And I'm sitting there, and I'm looking around, and I look down, and then I happened to look up. It was about 10 after 5. He was standing there. So all I saw was just a huge rack. So I grabbed the gun and put the gun out on him, and he had turned around, so he was facing me. So I had the crosshairs on him, and I'm thinking, do I try to shoot him in the neck? He could run off. I don't know if I want to, risk that shot. And then he started walking. He was kind of walking towards me, but off to the left, and I was starting to get a side shot, so I put the scope in front of him and let him walk into the crosshairs, and I took a shoulder shot. As soon as I pulled the trigger, he ran. And my heart sank, and I thought, oh, I missed him. So I put on my vest and grabbed my gun. I went out and looked, and there was some blood. So he had ran down a hill. It was maybe about 15 feet and pretty steep. And
how far was that first shot you took?
probably about 35 yards.
Oh, wow. He was getting close. That's so awesome. Your heart must have just been pounding away out there. What have you seen any bucks even remotely close to this one out there?
No, I haven't.
That is so cool. Congratulations, Russ. Gorgeous UP buck right here.
Okay, that last buck was from above the bridge. We're going to drop just below the bridge to Sheboygan County. Brent Gann, this is 167 3/4 inch. This was shot with a rifle on state land, right?
On state land.
On state land in Sheboygan County. You do not see bucks like this very often. So what happened this year?
Well, this year, on the third day,
Third day gun?
yep, rifle season, a buddy of mine's got property about a half-mile away. He was coming in late due to dropping his kid off. He sends me a text, and he says, there's a big buck in here chasing a doe. He's going by tracks and in the snow. I sent him a text back, you a good pusher. Well, it was probably about a half hour, 45 minutes later. I didn't put my boots on the heater that night. Feet got cold. Decided to get up and walk towards the swamp, towards his property. And I probably only made it about 45 yards. I heard a crash. I thought it was behind me. Well, it wasn't. So I turned back this way. Here's a doe coming. He comes busting out of the swamp. Stops. When I pulled my gun up, the doe had went past and stopped. And
So you're just standing there.
I'm just standing there. Okay. Yep. And I think she seen me bring my gun up. She went past me. My scent was blowing that way. She stopped. He stopped right there, 35 yards, wide open.
35 yards.
Yes. I pulled the trigger. It took off. But yeah, I went to where I shot at him the second time, and I only had to go about probably 35 more yards, and there he was laying.
So what was it like to get your hands on this guy?
Well, I lost my dad in June, and he was a huge deer hunter. Okay. Well, that morning I was praying to Dad, bring me the big buck, bring me the big buck. Wow. So I was pretty excited.
That is very cool. What a great story. What a great buck. That's just incredible mass. Sheboygan County monster buck. Let's give him a round of applause. State land in Michigan.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here we are with Valerie Hansen. This is a gross score of 168 6/8, 11 scorable points. Montcalm County, this thing's got the inside spread is 21 5/8 inches. And Valerie was telling me you shot this with a shotgun, but you're normally just a bow hunter, right?
Correct, yeah. I had my tonsils out right before bow season and missed the whole first bow season. So a very dear friend of mine and hunting partner, Judy, gave me one of her 12 gauges and told me to give it a try. I was in a ground blind, and he had never been seen. He was on camera once a little bit south of me. The night before at the same time, I had already seen over 60 deer, and that night I had seen nothing, and all of a sudden to the west, I could just see these tines a little bit. And he was coming through some switchgrass, and so by the time I reached up and unlatched the window and got it down and got the shotgun out, he was a perfect 50 yards from me, but he had turned north, so I had his behind in my sight. Knew I didn't like that idea, so I did a mouth grunt. At first, he just looked over his shoulder at me, and so I grunted again, and he did 2 stomps, perfect broadside shot him right through the heart. He made it about 15 yards, spiraling in a circle, dropped once, got up, made it another maybe 10 yards, and was down. So yeah, it was the perfect hunt.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I bet you were calling people pretty quick, eh?
Actually, when I got down, I didn't even have to go for the blood trail because I'd watched him drop, and I'd gotten a hold of my girlfriend, Judy, and she was on her way over, and as I approached where I knew he was at, I knew he was large from when he turned away from me because I could see how beyond his ears he went. But I got about 10 yards from him, and my legs literally gave out, and that's how my girlfriend found me. I was on the ground on my knees, just kind of, yeah, had no idea what I'd truly gotten. So yeah, my buck of a lifetime.
That is awesome. And I know you're an accomplished bow hunter and you've shot many bucks with your bow before, but nothing to compare to this one, hey?
Not even close, no, yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. Valerie, congratulations on a great buck.
Thank you.
Well, on October 25th, I climbed up in my stand at about 5 o'clock p.m. and sitting there, it was really, really windy out, and I had a button buck and 4-point come in the food plot just before dark, and it was getting pretty dark out, and I seen the 3-pointer keep looking back. When he popped out, I stood up, and my heart just dropped. And he come in, kind of head on, facing towards me. And I was waiting for him to turn. And he didn't look right up at me, but he looked at the base of my tree, and he stepped back 3 times, and I was like, oh, man, I got to think fast. So then he finally turned, quartered away a little bit. I pulled back, and I let her fly, and I hit him a little bit further back than what I wanted to. But he only went about 70 yards, 80 yards. And when I walked up, I was speechless. I looked at him, and I didn't think it was him at first. But then I saw the paddle there, and then I said, that's him, and everybody's coming up, and I was in a shock.
That had to be a pretty cool moment, though.
It was. I mean, that's what it's all about, getting out there with your friends and family and doing stuff like this and making memories.
Making memories, you did indeed. This is a monster buck from the Thumb 18-pointer, Kyle Ozentoski. Let's give him a round of applause. What a buck.
Well, I got pictures of him on trail camera on November 2nd. I decided to put out a couple of mock scrapes. And November 9th, he decided to bless me into my presence. But I got out early, about 5 in the morning. I sat in my stand, and I heard a blow, and I heard a deer take off. And I was kind of getting discouraged. Well, 7 o'clock come around, started to getting light. So I decided to grunt 4 quick times. And I looked to the south, and he jumped over a downed tree, and he was coming fast. And he checked the first scrape, then he was heading over to the second scrape. And as I drew back, he kind of heard my arrow kind of squeaked on my rest a little bit. So he actually darted around and actually got closer, and I shot him at 10 yards. He only went 60 yards, and that's where he died.
Oh, my goodness. So this happened pretty quick after first light then, hey?
Yeah, definitely. I got kind of nervous. I just saw a little spotty blood, and I'm standing up, I'm looking through my binoculars, and lo and behold, he was only like 15 yards from me, so already dead.
Oh, that's so cool. That is awesome. Just a gorgeous buck of a lifetime there. Congratulations on a exciting hunt. Beautiful job.
He came right in. He was about 20 yards away, and I drew back, and he came in. He stopped at 15 yards and just was kind of staring at the base of my tree and looking around, and was 1 step away from a perfect shot. And I'm holding my bow back, and after about a minute, it started trying to come forward on me and everything else. And the whole time looking through my peep sight, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to let down. So I kind of opened up my other eye, and when I did, I seen there was a perfect, like a paper plate size hole right down, through the bush right to his vitals. And I was thinking I could make that shot. So I settled in on him. And
so did you actually let down, or did you just kept it back?
No, kept it back. And so I thought I could make the shot, and I shot, and he took 2 bounds and just stopped and just looked back. And I looked, and I seen my arrow and realized I had missed him. And I was just like, oh, man. My heart sank, and I was just like, I can't believe you just missed him. I thought for sure it was just, over and done with. Yeah. Never see him again, So he just stood there, and I knew he couldn't see my right arm from where he was at. My quiver was hanging on the backside of the tree, so I just blindly reached around and felt for the quiver, grabbed an arrow, and brought it back around the whole time watching him. And as I get it up, I was just getting ready to knock it, and I looked, and it was the only field point I had in my quiver. And I'm like, yeah, it's done now, I can't get it back in the quiver. And I thought about dropping it, but I knew, he would see me because he's just standing there froze. And I happened to see my backpack and the water bottle pouch on the side of it. So I slowly slid the arrow down there, balanced up against the tree, and I kind of reached back around, and I grabbed another arrow. And about the time I was trying to knock it, he was turning around and trying to come further down to the south of me. Concentrated hard with a 30-yard pin and shot him and watched it go right through him. And he took off about 40 yards and stopped, just turned around, looked back at me, and then just fell right over.
Oh, my word.
It was just such a crazy hunt. I mean, yeah. So.
Yeah. Wow. That had to be From the highs to the lows to the high. I mean, what a story. I can't believe you had time to get that other arrow out and around.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, the Lord was really looking out for me that night, for sure.
Well, I'm telling you what, that is one of the biggest bucks I've ever seen. Over 200 inches, 205 inches. This is Chris Evenhouse, St. Joe County. Let's give him a round of applause for the biggest buck of the night. What a great deer. What a great hunt. Nice job.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises of Munising, exploring Lake Superior's Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore with its sandstone cliffs, caves, waterfalls, and lighthouses. Pictured Rocks Boat Cruises on the web at picturedrocks.com. By the Department of Natural Resources Fisheries Division, reminding fishermen that they are our first line of defense in stopping aquatic invasive species. To minimize the risk of invasives, it is required by law to properly dispose of live bait after your fishing trip. By doing so, you help protect Michigan's world-class fishery. By Propane, Clean American Energy. Propane retailers promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas energy in homes, farms, and businesses across our great state. Learn more at usemichiganpropane.com. By Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth. Michigan made for over 18 years, Lucky Buck on the web at luckybuck.com. Closed captioning is provided by the Michigan Propane Gas Association, Clean American Energy. Propane realtors promote the safe use of Michigan-produced gas to outdoor enthusiasts across our great state.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden